Okay, so let's start with a few teams who are undefeated. We're talking about undefeated nation up in here. Washington Spirit versus Houston Dash. This game is going to kick off at 7 p.m. Eastern. Washington Spirit coming off of a Challenge Cup loss. Houston Dash also coming off of a Challenge Cup loss. I believe in their games we went with the Dash for their Challenge Cup game, and I believe we both went the opposite direction for Gotham when it came to Spirit, right?
Yeah, so we both picked Houston to win, and then we both picked Gotham.
Yeah, I listen.
So we didn't get either of these right. But however, I think that there's pretty big upsets because Kansas City beat Houston in the Challenge Cup, and Kansas City dealt with a lot in this regular season so far. And yesterday, the club parted ways with head coach Matt Potter just hours before kickoff of this Challenge Cup game in Houston for Kansas City. So Houston playing a bit at home, but on the heels against a team that was pretty riled up in that one. But with Washington, they are coming off of a 1-0 loss to Gotham, in which Lynn Williams scored that goal. But Washington Spirit looking like a pretty solid team. Like we got to see a pretty similar lineup, right? I mean, we saw a lot of rotation in Challenge Cup play, a lot of rotation, but Andy Sullivan getting the start. I think the back line was pretty conducive to what we've seen from Mark Parsons. I mean, Elwell usually playing higher up and more of an attacking role, playing in the outside back position last night. Bledsoe in goal, but no Rodman, no Sanchez playing in this one, getting minutes. So a lot of rest for a lot of players for Washington Spirit. And that makes a lot of sense to me based on like how this team has gone and everything that's happened with Washington and kind of how they've started out this season on the front foot. I mean, they're undefeated in play, but so is Houston in regular season play.
I'm curious how the player rotations are going to look for the week 4 matchup between the Spirit and the Dash in this one. It's always exciting. I think this kind of early in the season where you have like a couple undefeated teams, and eventually there's going to get a loss is going to come their way. Is it going to happen when you're going up against another opposition that is also undefeated? In terms of what we saw from these two teams in this midweek Challenge Cup game, do you think that there is a team that is going to be better prepared to take all 3 points in this game? Who are you picking and why?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think with the rest that we saw from, I mean, honestly, both sides, but I think Washington had a bit more rest. Their players that did not did not get time in the midweek action are players that get 60 to 90 minutes in the regular season games, which does change things in my mind based on like how the regular season goes. And your team's also pretty fired up, right? If you're not playing, like you look at a Trinity Rodman, she didn't play last night in the Challenge Cup and her team lost. She is fired up. She wants to get out there. She wants to play. That type of thing to me is what makes it that much more like energetic in that sense. Washington's also hosting. They're playing at Audi Field in this one against Houston Dash. I really think that this is going to be one of the best games of the weekend between these two sides because of how well they match up against each other. Where are we going to see the splits in terms of like possession, who's going to control more of the possession, who's going to go a bit more direct, how it's going to work out in this game. I think that Houston's going to bounce back though. This is a team that ended up losing last night in a way that they didn't really want to lose, going down 2 goals against Kansas City. One of them pretty unfortunate in kind of the way it happened.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think Houston's got the edge over Washington in this one. And the front line of Ordonez, Sanchez, Ebony Salmon, I think that powerhouse up top is going to cause a lot of problems for Washington's back line and the ways that they can get in and behind. So I'm going to go with Houston in this one, Sandra, going on the road and picking up a win over Washington Spirit.
Okay, I like the energy of going with the Dash. I hear you 100% in terms of like some of the rotations that we saw by Sam Lady for the Challenge Cup game. I like that we got to see some different faces for the Dash, talking about players getting important minutes. I think in an important time in the season, early enough to where you're still trying to maybe see where these players could possibly fit in for your ideal starting 11 further into the season. For example, like maybe when a World Cup comes into play and you lose players, possibly an Elisa Chapman or Sophie Schmidt, for example, to Canada. So when I'm looking at these two teams, I'm also curious if we're going to see Trinity Rodman in the type of minutes that she's going to get for Washington Spirit. Had an excused absence, wasn't a part of that Challenge Cup midweek match. And we can both agree that the Spirit are just a completely different team when Rodman is on the pitch. Has an early head start, in my opinion, for team MVP. She's been that important, I think, that crucial to the Spirit. I don't know if I think that's going to be enough to take all 3 points against Houston, but I don't want to go with a draw this early.
I
So
know
I'm going.
this is one that I think could be a
Yeah.
draw, though.
So I feel you. This was one of the ones when you're getting into undefeated. I think you're also getting into unpredictable. So I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna go with the Spirit. I think having the return of Rodman could benefit the team. I think obviously being at home, I think is going to help a little bit as well too, for this team against the Dash. But we know we've seen the record, we've said it on the show. Houston is a team that is not afraid of playing away. They are not. They are not a team that isn't intimidated by a home crowd, and a lot of times. Sometimes they look a little bit better on the road. So I'm curious to see how this one shakes out. I'm was very tempted for a draw,
I
in this.
know.
Maybe
I
both
think
these
it could
teams
be a draw. I think could be a draw.
maybe both these teams still remain undefeated by the time they
I
come
know.
out of week 4. I don't know, but we don't want to go there that early. So I'm gonna go for parity. I'm gonna go the opposite way. I'm gonna go for the Spirit. I do think they have enough to contend with Houston. I think it's gonna be even. It might even be close. We might not get a ton of bangers, but those are always fun and interesting games to pay attention to as well. So you're going Dash. I'm going Spirit. Let's talk a little bit about another pair of undefeated teams, Portland Thorns versus Racing Louisville. That's right. 2 more unbeaten teams. We've got this one late night kicking off at 10:30 p.m. ET. You can catch all the action on Paramount Plus. Portland picking up a loss, their first loss in 2023. It comes in the form of a Challenge Cup defeat. They went head to head with San Diego Wave just last night in round 1 play of the Challenge Cup. A narrow scoreline between these two teams, and we got to remind everybody who our picks were for that Challenge Cup match.
I picked Portland to beat San Diego, and you had San Diego to get the win. So
I'll take it.
I'm sorry, other way around.
Okay,
sorry.
I'll still take it because let me tell you,
I'm reading my chart wrong. Yeah,
I'll take it. I'll still take it because you and I were chatting a little bit about Challenge Cup prior to hopping on to this live, and we were like, "Gosh, we made some tough picks for Challenge Cup." Yeah. But Portland getting the
this is the only one we split. We picked all the same picks for all the other ones. I had San Diego and you had Portland, and man, it was a close game. I mean, it came down 1-0. And ultimately, it's an own goal technically that finds the back of the net for San Diego, and really tough for Portland how this happened. But Kaylin Sheridan had a heck of a game and goal for the Wave. Really good performance by Sheridan.
Yeah, love to see it. For the Thorns, we saw a lot of this. This was the common sort of thread between a lot of the matches that took place over Challenge Cup last night. Was we saw player rotations, we saw new faces, we saw new names get integrated into starting 11s across the 5 matches. A team that we didn't see during Challenge Cup, Racing Louisville. They were one of 2 teams that did not kick off their Challenge Cup round 1 last night. Is that going to benefit this team going against Portland? I don't know. I think, again, undefeated, aka unpredictable. It's these first 2 games for us, kind of looking at the head to head. I'm kind of thinking like, what's it going to mean? Where's it going to head? But I think even with the extra game this week for Portland Thorns, I just feel like they have a little bit more, not even just in terms of
Mhm.
attackers and goal scorers, because I think we're starting to see on Racing Louisville side of things that they have exciting pieces to rally around on the pitch. I think names that people are still unfamiliar with, but are going to get familiarized with very, very quickly. I'm looking maybe someone, Kristen Davis, for example. Like these are players that maybe aren't quite what folks consider, a regular name that they're used to hearing
Yeah, they're not
on the highlight
superstars, but
on the
that's
highlight reel.
yeah, but that's, I think the beauty of it, right? That it allows these other players to have breakout years, and I mean, you're talking about a Kirsten Davis. Yes, I think this is a very talented player. No, I don't think she's going to go out and win the Golden Boot this year. I don't think she's going to lead the league in assists, but she's going to be a game changer for Racing Louisville throughout this year. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, 100%. So when we're looking at these two going head to head, I think even with the midweek game for Portland, I think a couple things will come into play. This is a team, unlike Racing Louisville, this is a team that isn't working on um, team chemistry. They're not working on team cohesion. They're not working on familiarity with each other. Those are things that I think Racing Louisville is actually still working on right now.
And Portland's not
Portland
working
is
on it because they have it.
Portland is not working on it because they've had that. They're trying to run it back this year. So just looking at recent form and ability, and even the depth that Portland has right now, I think they're one of the deeper teams in the league. I'm looking for them to take all 3 points in this game. They're back at home. It's a tough place to play if you're the
Mhm.
opposition, and I don't know if Racing is going to have enough to pull off the win. Again, they might have enough to make it interesting because they've done that over the course of their first 3 weeks. We're talking 3 draws. They're still on the hunt for a win, but I don't know if it's going to happen this week. I'm going Thorns. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Looking at the travel schedule, right? Yes, Portland did have that midweek game where they had to travel to San Diego, but now they're back home. So I think it evens out a little bit. If this game was on the road, I think it would make a difference for Portland. In regular season, Portland has 9 goals that they have scored. 9 goals in 3 games. They can find the back of the net. That's not a problem for them. I think Katie Lund is going to be tested, and Portland will get some past her. It's just a little bit inevitable. When looking at Racing Louisville and the schedule that they've played so far, yes, they've come up with 3 draws throughout the first 3 game weeks in the regular season. Last week they scored early against Angel City, and then they conceded 2 goals late in the second half. And similarly against a Washington Spirit side, they go down 2 goals and then they come back late. So like they're putting these pieces together where they can score early, they can score late. They got shut out in their opening game against Houston, but as you talked about, they're missing that cohesion. They're missing the piece of the puzzle that brings it all together, and that's something that Portland does have. And that's a major advantage when you're playing in these games, especially for a Portland side that's coming off a midweek game against Challenge Cup. I think it evens out though, right? If it was the other way around and Louisville had a midweek game, it would be game over then for Portland. But I do think that this game is really going to be interesting between the two sides. However, being at home, Portland Thorns, they're really good at home. They really are, and they had a lot of rotation in the midweek game, but we still got to see minutes from Sophia Smith, Sinclair, Rocky Rodriguez, Reina Reyes in the back
Yeah.
line. Fantastic for the young rookie, and we got to see Adriana Leone get
Yep.
her first minutes with this Portland side. There's something there. I think we're going to see a lot more from Leone moving forward. This is the new Canadian international that Mike Norris just signed with the Thorns, and she got her first minutes. I think we'll see her get her first regular season minutes this weekend and help lift Portland Thorns to get a victory over Louisville. So I'm with you on this one.
All right.
Portland and Portland.
All right, we're going both for Portland, so we'll see if we're correct. I was getting nervous when we make the same picks.
I know.
If you listen to our Challenge Cup preview, you're probably like cracking up right now. But we're going Portland. We're split for Dash and Spirit, and the first one for the Undefeated Nation games.